There is power in silence, there is strength in secrecy, and one of the most dangerous mistakes people make in the early stages of destiny is exposing what has not yet been developed. Vision is not for the crowd, vision is for the called. When God gives you a vision, a dream, a seed of purpose, it is your responsibility to protect it like a farmer protects seed in the soil. You don't pull seed out of the ground to show it off to people. You leave it buried so it can germinate. That vision you carry, that idea you're so excited about, it is sacred, and sacred things must be shielded until they are ready to stand on their own. The premature exposure of a divine idea invites premature opinions, criticism, and often sabotage. There are people who will try to kill your vision not because it's bad, but because it reminds them of what they didn't do with their own. Joseph shared his dreams with his brothers, and instead of celebrating him, they conspired to destroy him. Not because the dream was wrong, but because the timing of his revelation exposed him to jealous minds and fragile egos. That story was not included in Scripture to entertain us. It's there to warn us. Don't expose what God gave you in private to people who were not in the room when He gave it. There are principles that govern vision. One of them is discretion. When a builder has a blueprint, he doesn't invite the neighborhood to look at it. He goes to the architect, to those trained in construction, to the people who understand design and process. That means in your life, when a vision is born, your circle must shrink before it expands. Not everyone has the capacity to carry what you see. Some people love you, but don't believe in your calling. Some people are kind, but not called to walk with you, and you must be wise enough to discern the difference. Maturity is not revealed in how loud you speak. It is revealed in what you are willing to keep to yourself. The early stages of vision are fragile. It is a time of formation, not performance. If a woman reveals the pregnancy before the seed is settled, she risks miscarriage. In the same way, if you broadcast your plans before the foundations are laid, you invite forces to come and uproot what's just beginning to take root. The enemy of purpose is not just external attack, it is internal insecurity fed by external noise. If you open the door to too many opinions, you might abandon the very thing you were created to bring into the world. Guard your heart and guard your vision. What God whispered to you in the secret place is not for everyone's ears. You must also understand that vision is often misunderstood because it is ahead of its time. People interpret you through the lens of their present, but vision speaks to the future. So when you tell someone your dream, they may look at your current state and laugh, because they cannot see where you're going. That's why vision requires faith and privacy. Faith, to believe what is not yet seen. Privacy, to protect it until it becomes visible. Not everything God gives you is for Instagram. Not everything should be tweeted. Some things are to be meditated upon, prayed over, refined in the furnace of time, and tested in silence. When you honor the process, the vision will honor you with results. But when you expose it too soon, you risk ridicule, confusion, or worse, imitation. There are people who don't want to build their own dream. They just want to copy yours. They don't want your burden, they just want your spotlight. So until your vision is mature enough to defend itself, hold it close. Write it down, speak it in prayer, prepare for it in discipline, but don't advertise it for applause. Greatness is not announced. It is revealed through fruit, and fruit only comes after the root is established. Not every truth is meant to be shared with everyone. Transparency is not the same as wisdom. There is a divine order to how and when we reveal ourselves, and one of the greatest errors a person can make is to confess their weakness to the wrong audience while still bleeding. Vulnerability without discernment can be destruction. When you're still healing, still growing, still trying to find strength in an area, exposing that area prematurely is not courageous. It's dangerous, not because you're weak, but because not everyone has the heart to cover you, the maturity to guide you, or the spirit to protect you. The enemy of your soul doesn't need to destroy you if he can simply expose your wound to the wrong person. Many people have fallen not because they were weak, but because they trusted the wrong listener. You must understand this truth. Confession without covenant leads to condemnation. Judas walked with Jesus, but he did not carry his heart. And many times we confuse proximity for loyalty. Just because someone is close doesn't mean they're safe. There are people who will take your confession and turn it into a conversation. They don't pray with it, they play with it, they don't help you, they haunt you with it later. You are still being formed. You are in the potter's hands, and while you are being shaped, there are cracks, fragile corners, unfinished edges. That's not something to be ashamed of. That's something to be protected. When you are vulnerable, you are impressionable. Your heart is still processing, your emotions are still tender, and your perspective is still evolving. If you release that too soon into hands that are not clean, you give them the power to misdefine you. You give them ammunition, not accountability, and accountability must come from covenant. Those who love you enough to challenge you without exposing you. Even Jesus, in the Garden of Gethsemane, only took 3 men with him when his soul was exceedingly sorrowful. He didn't bring the multitudes. He didn't open his heart to the crowd. He selected those he had walked with deeply, and even among those 3, one betrayed him and the others fell asleep. That alone teaches us something. Even the most selective vulnerability can still come with risk. But wisdom doesn't eliminate risk, it minimizes damage. The lesson is not to become closed. It is to become discerning. Don't hide forever, but don't reveal too soon. You must learn to submit your weakness to God before you submit it to people. Why? Because only God can give you the identity that doesn't change with your mistakes. Only God can restore you without reminding you. Only God can heal you without humiliating you. People, even well-meaning ones, will filter your weakness through their own lens of judgment, fear, or gossip. That's why your first conversation must always be vertical before it becomes horizontal. Go to the throne before you go to a friend. Go to the Spirit before you go to the circle. There will come a time when your healing becomes part of your ministry. There will be a moment when your pain becomes a testimony. But testimonies come after the test, not during it. If you speak in the middle of the fire, you might misinterpret the lesson. If you open up while you're still breaking, you might bleed on people who were never meant to carry your wound. Some things must be processed in silence, in counsel, in prayer, in time. God is not just interested in healing you. He's interested in maturing you. Maturity knows when to speak and when to wait. Don't let your desire to be real cause you to be reckless. Yes, you are human. Yes, you struggle. But not everyone deserves access to that level of intimacy. Emotional honesty is a gift. It should be given wisely. Don't confuse noise for nurture. Don't mistake curiosity for care. And above all, don't give the keys to your inner room to someone who hasn't proven they can handle the weight of who you are becoming. Money is a tool, not a trophy. It is a servant, not a master. And yet many people lose the power of financial growth not because they don't earn, but because they speak too quickly about what they earn. There is a reason why the wise are discreet with their income, because wealth exposed too early invites pressure, jealousy, manipulation, and even distraction. When you share what you make before you've learned how to manage it, you're not sharing testimony. you're exposing immaturity. God doesn't bless you to brag, He blesses you to build, and building requires silence, stewardship, and strategy. People often confuse income with wealth. Just because you're making more doesn't mean you're growing. In fact, the more you make, the more disciplined you must become. If you don't have systems, savings, structure, or stewardship, then your income is just flow without form, and anything without form can be taken. When you talk about how much you make without understanding how much you're keeping, you open the door to expectation you're not yet ready to carry. People will start calling you rich when you're still learning how to survive. Friends become opportunists, family starts assuming, strangers start scheming, not because they're evil, but because you gave them a number, not context. When God gives you increase, He also expects maturity. That means before you publicize your promotion, you need to stabilize your foundation. Have you tithed on it? Have you invested it? Have you prepared for taxes, emergencies, or debt reduction? Or are you still spending to look blessed rather than building to become a blessing? Silence is not secrecy. Silence is security. There are some things that should stay between you, your God, and your budget. Speaking prematurely is often an emotional response to internal lack. When we haven't healed our identity, we use money as evidence that we're valuable. But true value is not in what you make, it's in what you master. Your income is not your identity. It is a resource God places in your hands to fulfill your assignment. And resources must be managed according to purpose, not popularity. You don't need to impress anyone with your salary, your bonus, or your raise. Let your wisdom speak. Let your lifestyle testify, not your lips. We live in a culture where people would rather be known for what they bought than for what they built. But the kingdom doesn't operate by flash, it operates by fruit. And fruit doesn't come from boasting. It comes from planting, pruning, and patience. Don't make the mistake of announcing what God gave you before you've established why He gave it. Every financial increase carries a responsibility. There's a reason Jesus taught more about money than almost any other topic, because what we do with it reflects what we truly value. If your first instinct after a financial blessing is to post about it or talk about it, rather than pray, plan, or give, then your increase is already being wasted. The world celebrates exposure, but the wise celebrate discretion. You don't owe anyone a financial confession. You owe God stewardship. When you keep your income private, you protect your peace. You avoid unnecessary comparisons. You prevent manipulation. And most importantly, you allow your money to grow in silence. Trees don't make noise while they're growing. They stretch roots, reach higher, and then bear fruit in due season. So should you. Don't announce your fruit while you're still planting seeds. Learn how to manage what you've been given before you make it public. Wealth is attracted to order, and order begins with wisdom, not visibility. Keep it private. Let your discipline do the talking. Purpose is not a performance, it is a process, and in that process, timing is everything. One of the most critical principles in fulfilling divine purpose is strategic silence. Too many people forfeit divine momentum by announcing their next move before it's mature. Destiny does not require advertisement. Vision does not need a press release. There is a season to speak, but there is also a season to build, move, and obey in silence. The enemy is not all knowing. He watches for clues, and when you speak out of timing, you give him weapons you didn't have to. Your next move is sacred. It is the product of divine strategy, prayer, revelation, and obedience. You must treat it like a seed, not a billboard. When Nehemiah was given the burden to rebuild the wall, he did not immediately gather the crowds. Scripture says he walked the ruins at night alone. He inspected the damage, assessed the challenge, and planned in silence. Only after he was clear, secure, and prepared did he speak. This is a principle of leadership, protection, and maturity. Move first, talk later. Many dreams die in the court of public opinion, not because the dream wasn't real, but because the voices surrounding it were too loud. There are people who will never build anything themselves, but will criticize anything you try to construct. And if you give them insight into your next move too early, you open the door for confusion, doubt, and unnecessary resistance. The danger of premature exposure is not just attack, it's distraction. Talking too much about what you're planning often satisfies the need to feel like you're progressing, when in reality, nothing has moved. There's a subtle pride in announcing your next step. It can feel noble. It can sound visionary, but at its core, it often stems from a need for validation. We want to be affirmed in our ambition, but purpose doesn't require applause. It requires alignment, and alignment is between you and God. Until God releases you to speak, your only job is to obey. Talk to Him. Talk to your journal. Talk to your accountability partner, if one has been spiritually assigned. But the masses, no, not yet. Because the more people you bring in too early, the more noise you have to sort through when it's time to act. You must learn to protect the element of surprise. Every move you make doesn't need to be visible. Jesus often withdrew before major miracles. He disappeared into the wilderness before major moments. Why? Because clarity is born in quiet, warfare is won in the unseen, and strategy succeeds when it is rooted in discipline, not discussion. Some of the greatest victories are won before the battle begins, because they were planned in secrecy and executed with precision. Be wise with your momentum. Not everyone cheering you is with you. Not everyone asking questions is supportive. Some are curious, others are calculating, and in your eagerness to share, you might unintentionally invite sabotage. Even well-meaning people can derail your focus by offering suggestions that sound good but aren't God. That's why you don't share your steps until you've taken them. Let your movement reveal your direction. Let your fruit speak louder than your forecast. Silence is not passivity. It is positioning. It is choosing to act under divine timing rather than emotional impulse. It is saying, I don't need you to understand me. I need to obey what God gave me. The greatest power is not in what you announce. It's in what you finish. So build the plan, make the call, sign the deal. Move in silence, then let the results speak. Because when your actions speak for you, no explanation is necessary. And when God is your source, He will reveal you when the time is right, without you having to say a word.